Hey y'all, how are you doing? I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking. It's me, Kim, back for another video. I'm here today to talk about Chris Brown and some other stuff. And girl, I don't even know why y'all are even listening to Chris Brown. Like, Chris and I are the same age, but I'm certainly too old for it. But more than a couple of y'all asked me to talk about this thing that Chris recently said in one of his songs. And one thing that I love about pop culture commentary, and I say this all the time, but I love that this form allows me to take a little bit of trash and go into something much deeper. So we're going to start with Chris and we're going to pull back and look at the bigger picture. Chris Brown is not somebody whose opinion I take seriously. He is not somebody that I would ever listen to. He looks like he's standing in the need of prayer, like somebody call your grandma and let's touch and agree on Chris Brown. But because y'all asked, we're going to get into it. And also, ultimately, this video is going to end up being about Black men's preferences. I've touched on this before in another video, but I've been thinking about it and I have a lot more to add. Now, I'm going to start off by saying that I worry that a video like this is going to exacerbate some Black girl or Black woman's insecurities. And I really don't want to do that, but there's no way to completely avoid that possibility without sacrificing some realness. And I want to keep it 100% real. All I'm going to say to you is, do not stress yourself out about the people who don't want you. In 2019, we're not stressing out about these raggedy men. We're not doing it. Okay, girl, that was my too long but very important preface. Now, Chris Brown just released another album with, 100 songs on it. I don't know how y'all be sitting through those albums. But on one of the songs called Need a Stack, he said, "I only want to fuck the Black bitches with the nice hair." Oh my God. One of the Chris Brown listeners brought it to our attention that this is an obviously offensive and colorist lyric. And people have been trying to defend Chris Brown with the flimsiest excuses. I saw somebody say, oh, he means the Black women with their hair done. Y'all, come on now. Get the fuck out of here. Come on. Chris was obviously making a discriminatory statement against women with kinkier or coilier textured hair. Nice hair is the straighter textures, 3B and above or 3B and lower. I hate that freaking hair scale, by the way. But it's the looser curls. It's the silkier texture. That's what he's into. And we know that's what he's into because we can just take a look around his life. Look at the mother of his child. Look at his current girlfriend. Look at his last girlfriend. Look at his most famous girlfriend. I actually remember back in the day when he was still dating Rihanna, talking about how he loved that Rihanna had green eyes like his mother. So it's pretty clear that Christopher Maurice has a color problem. Chris is not somebody who I expect to be self-reflective or even to be particularly responsible with the work that he produces, but he is far from the only one who holds those kinds of ideas. If you're a Black woman and you consume or participate in Black culture, if you spend any kind of time in Black spaces, if you're around Black men with any kind of power, with 2 cents in the pockets, right? You are bound to hear ideas and messages about the hierarchy of desirability that puts Black women with darker skin and kinkier textured hair and bigger features at the bottom. Every time this comes out, Black women with sense have to lead the conversation because people want to talk to us like we're crazy. Let's get into this idea of the hierarchy. Sociologists have this concept of the marriage market, and we can think of it as kind of like a flea market for single people. Whereas who gets taken off the market first depends on if you're available and how many people want you. And whoever has the most bargaining power or leverage gets to snatch up who they want. Of course, partnership is a mutual decision, but if we're being completely real, very rarely do both parties in a relationship have equal power. Neither our preferences or our desires are benign. They're always consequential. Now, some of that stuff we have no control over. For example, I'm attracted to men. I don't know why. I have no control over it. But the type of men that I'm attracted to, I definitely have control over, and I choose. And the choices we make reflect what we prize. So sometimes we clearly spell that stuff out, like when Chris Brown is talking about nice hair. And I remember a song with Rick Ross and Jay-Z and Dr. Dre. And I remember really clearly Dr. Dre saying, "I only love it if her hair long," right? Or the classic, when Fife says, I like them brown, yellow, Puerto Rican, and Haitian, right? And there's innumerable examples of this. I mean, red bone, yellow bone, thick waist, big booty. But a lot of times when it comes to our preferences, we don't explicitly say it. So for example, I'm a hetero woman. If God forbid I ever put a man on this freaking channel, you would say, that is a man that Kim feels comfortable being next to in public. She likes what being next to that man says about her. When it comes to desirability, we're shown what sits atop the hierarchy via pop culture, music, movies, TV, magazines, Instagram. But most importantly, that's reflected in what people do in their private lives. I actually think that is the most impactful way that people show you what they desire. What are you taking home? What are you doing behind closed doors? For women, beauty is a huge part of desirability. That has been so for, since the beginning of time. And it's not going to change anytime soon. Of course, men talk about, and I'm talking about straight men here. Straight men talk about other attributes. Is she going to take care of me? And is she going to be down? And is she going to be with you shooting in the gym? But beauty comes up a lot. Let's not be obtuse here. And it comes up a lot because for women, beauty is a commodity. It is a realm of social stratification. It determines often where you're going to end up in the world, your access to opportunities, to jobs, to partners, to housing, to safety. We're not just talking about how you feel about yourself or what you see when you look in the mirror. I mean, that stuff is important, but I'm talking about beauty as a resource, as a system of structural inequality. Beauty is the color of your skin, the kind of facial features that you have, the texture of your hair, the shape of your body. All of this stuff plays into that hierarchy. All of this matters because beauty is the capital for women, but women are the capital for straight men. And with that being said, here's the truth that is awkward and uncomfortable, but frankly true. A lot of Black men use colorism to their advantage. They understand what it is. They understand that it is a system of social stratification, but yet they use it to get access and opportunity via the women that they align themselves with. They get racism and white supremacy. We saw that Black men get it when Tory Lanez pulled that little stunt, when he had it set up so that he could be seen switching out a lighter skinned woman for a darker skinned woman. He knew the kind of emotional strings that would pull in women who feel like they've been marginalized or invalidated or sidelined. In their personal and romantic choices, they play it up in order to assert their power. And then when they're called out, they say, oh, preference, I can like what I like. And I know, people are always gonna call me a Black man hater. There's really nothing I can do about it. I mean, I don't hate Black men. I just think it's important to point out that in the data we have, white women and women of color with lighter skin are shown to marry higher status partners, and they're also shown to be more likely to get married, period. That's empirical, not anecdotal. So honestly, if you have nothing, then I'm not even talking about you, right? Carry on. Don't be offended. A great and easy way to understand the hierarchy of desirability is to refer back to this picture from 2016. It was taken after the VMAs. Just take a look and tell me what you see. I see a bunch of Black men with varied skin tones with women who are light-skinned Black people, mixed race, or Kim Kardashian. All of those women have similar skin tones, and that's not a coincidence. 9 times out of 10, if you see a Black man with even a little bit of clout, his partner is going to be lighter. And I know that saying that means that y'all are going to point out all of the exceptions in the comments. And that's fine, because pointing out the exceptions means that the rule holds true. We can critique the Kardashians for their exploitation of Black aesthetics. I know a lot of people feel like they parade their Black male partners and their mixed race children around as accessories. I mean, I don't know if I would go that far, but I will say that you cannot critique what the Kardashians do without also critiquing the Black men who purposely align themselves with those women in order to get access to the social capital that being seen with the Kardashian or an exotic white woman like the Kardashians affords them. These are Black men looking for access. And that propels women like the Kardashians to the top of the hierarchy of desirability. The Kardashian success has created countless wannabes, and it's certainly frustrating to see women who only care about the aesthetics, who have no real interest in pouring into the culture. The Yes Juleses, the Iggy Azaleas, the Miley Cyruses, who just want to profit off of it and get cool points off of it. Yeah, that's frustrating. But those women are legitimized by black men giving them hood passes and allowing them entree into black spaces. And let's keep it real. It is often black men who pimp out the culture in exchange for the fringe benefits of being able to align themselves with whiteness. And I don't even know why y'all are talking about free Kanye, free Tristan, free Travis. Don't save them. They don't want to be saved. People are going to do what they do. And I think for me, the most disconcerting thing about this hierarchy is how black women, and darker skinned black women in particular, are so often used as stepping stones for black men. Meaning, they will start off their career or their journey or whatever with a black woman, often a darker skinned black woman. And as they ascend through the ranks, get more money, get more power, they'll split. And often the next partner will be either a much lighter skinned woman, or now that exotic white is a thing, a white woman, a Latina, right? Somebody who's not black. Now, that to me is scary because you could be a stepping stone and not even know it. And even a lot of men who marry lighter skinned women the first go round marry even lighter or white the second or third time. So let's take, for example, Robert F. Smith, the billionaire who did a wonderful thing by clearing the debt of the recent Morehouse grads. Now, I did see some conversation about Robert's second wife. Okay, so Robert's first wife was a very light-skinned black woman, and his current wife is a white former Playboy playmate who's, 20 years younger. And by former, I mean like in the recent past. Now, I don't know his new wife. She seems like a sweet woman. I checked out her Instagram, but I think we can all safely say that there is no way that a black former nude model is marrying a billionaire. It's just not going to happen that a black woman who in the recent past had been in Blacktail, King, Playboy even, would get the pretty woman treatment. I know Blacktail and King are not even magazines anymore. I'm old. I'm sorry. Let's say Instagram model, because that's a contemporary reference. We're just not going to see a dark-skinned Instagram model marry a billionaire. So, you do have to ask, what about Hope, Robert's wife, who, I'm sure is a lovely woman? What about her makes her a suitable partner? Or do you remember when Kanye West said on The Breakfast Club that he needed to take 30 showers after being with Amber Rose before he could get with Kim Kardashian? Now, what kind of sense does that make? Because Kim and Amber do pretty much the same thing. The difference between Amber Rose and Kim Kardashian is a stable upbringing in a wealthy community. And Amber Rose has lots of privilege when it comes to beauty and status within black communities. But she does not have Kim Kardashian privilege. And that's what I mean by hierarchy. And I'm convinced that this hierarchy is why so many black men are obsessed with Kamala Harris's husband. Now, look, I am the first to say that who you choose to marry, who you choose to partner does have political consequences. I'm sure that she was very, we'll say, strategic in that decision, as we all should be. But I feel deep down that these men's obsession with her is about the fact that Kamala Harris is the kind of woman who sits atop the hierarchy. In theory, she's supposed to be a black man's prize. This is a woman who joined the black sorority, went to an HBCU, and now she said, oh, no. I'm going to wait to get married until I'm 50. I'm going to marry this rich white man. I'm not going to have any biological children, and y'all are going to deal. And I think that makes a lot of black men deeply upset. And you know what? I don't blame her. I am not on the black women have to marry black kings train because the numbers just don't work out. There just simply are not enough unincarcerated living black men to partner the number of single black women in this country. The math does not work. There's not enough competition. In every major metropolitan area in the United States, there are more Black women than Black men. And in every major metropolitan area in the United States, there are more white men than white women. That puts Black women at a distinct disadvantage when it comes to partnership. And I tried to avoid the numbers and avoid that reality for a long time, but I'm over that. I'm converted. Find your happiness. I think one of the reasons why the colorism stuff is so painful, it's so damaging, is because we understand that reality. We might not know all the numbers, but we understand as Black women how it feels to be out here. And no, at this point, I really don't care what Black men have to say about it. If Black men are so invested in the idea of Black love, then they need to be spreading that message to other Black men who are 2 to 3 times more likely to marry out than Black women at this point in time. If that's your cause and that's your mission, then do that work. But don't try to lecture Black women about it, because we don't need that messaging. We got it. I knew a literal Black male race scholar who once said some real colorist stuff to me about who he planned to partner. So if education is not going to fix it, if having these conversations is not going to do anything, then we need to come up with some new solutions. And I think that that's why these conversations about colorism and even Chris Brown's remarks and everybody else's remarks are often so hurtful, is because it often feels, if you're a Black woman who is disadvantaged in these systems, like there's no way out, particularly in the marriage market. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think every day we have to do work to decolonize our minds and break down these hierarchies and talk about colorism and white supremacy. But I don't know if these systems are ever going to be completely dismantled. I think we're too wrapped up in it. Do you remember during Nipsey Hussle's funeral, when YG got up there, when he was reflecting on his friend and talked about how he used to talk to Nipsey about how they were in for it because they were 2 Black men raising light-skinned, pretty daughters. Now, if you can't get through a eulogy, a reflection of your murdered friend without injecting colorism, then this is a deep problem. We're dealing with some deep-seated stuff. And now we have blackfishing, which is really an outgrowth of how white supremacy manifests itself in communities of color. We can call it out. We can push back against the idea that preferences are just preferences and they magically appear out of thin air. No, preferences are often a mask for some deep-seated pathology that people really don't want to be honest about. But again, that work falls on primarily Black women to do the call outs and to do the pushbacks and to say, hey, look, you don't have to say, I don't mess with nappy headed hoes for us to get the message. We know that us type 4s, that we're on the bottom. We get it. And you know, the saddest thing about Chris Brown is when he got called out on it, and this is why I don't mess with him. I don't care what that man says. When he got called out, he said, oh, well, the only people mad about it are ugly girls. You're only mad if you're ugly. And it's like, way to say the quiet part out loud, Chris. Like, duh, we already knew that you thought we were ugly. Like, you know, it's just really a shame. Chris Brown is 30 years old. I don't expect for him to evolve. I don't expect for him to grow out of this. And I think that it is completely appropriate in cases like this where people are just going to get defensive and start name calling. Just dole out those consequences and repercussions. Like, that's the only way people learn. You know, just got to get that backlash going. And finally, the hierarchy of desirability is not just about race. I talked about race because that's how it shows up in this case, but it includes a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, you know, one of the reasons why Drake hid his baby for so long is not because of the paparazzi. It's not because of the media. It is absolutely because of who he had that baby with. Pusha T was absolutely right in a very slut-shaming way, right? But he was right. Drake is absolutely ashamed of the fact that he had a baby with a white sex worker who isn't, I don't know, she's not the most classically beautiful woman in the world. Drake wants to portray himself as a good guy, as, you know, like a wholesome, family-friendly rapper for everybody. And having a baby with who he had little Adonis with kind of messes up that image for him. The point is, this happens on lots of different levels. Well, that's all I have to say about that, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. New up on the Patreon, it's me talking about a bunch of stuff. The acting white thing, the cucumber challenge I talked about, which you guys put the cucumbers down. What are y'all doing? Anyways, I talked about my chosen family. I recorded a couple podcasts. That's all new up July content over there. Thank you so much to all the patrons. I appreciate you immensely. Like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. Hit me up on Instagram or Twitter in the DMs. Buy some merch. Sign up for the email newsletter. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.